Now I want to try and do four things here quite quickly. One is to try to explain what the problem is over on the site of intelligence. Secondly, how reforms have come about in a number of countries, especially in the UK. And thirdly, where some of the existing kind of unfinished business is, where the gaps are. And then fourthly, to tackle one particular question that I think is very pressing at the moment, which is the whole question of international cooperation in intelligence, accountability for that. So first of all, what's the problem then? Well, we think normally, don't we, that government bodies should be accountable in one of two ways. Politically, through the parliamentary process, legally, through the courts. And the trouble is that historically, the intelligence services have not really been accountable in either of these ways. They were formed, in Britain's case, in conditions of extreme secrecy in the early 20th century, and we didn't even really get to know their existence until very much later on, in the 1960s, in the case of MI5, later still, in the case of MI6 and GCHQ. The law, the kind of legal framework for them, came along later still. It was 1989 before Parliament got around to legislating to provide a framework for the security service, MI5, and not till 1994 for MI6 and GCHQ. In fact, officially, MI6 didn't exist until the early 1990s. The government hadn't even admitted that there was such a body. So a kind of legal vacuum pretty clearly there. Parliament had no role in all of this, again until the mid-1990s effectively. Up until that time, whenever ministers were questioned about intelligence matters in Parliament, they invariably refused to answer, and they got away with it. Parliamentary committees didn't investigate intelligence questions. It was only in 1996 that the Intelligence and Security Committee was formed, started to do this. Looking at the courts, where we also think that bodies should be accountable, same problem there. Right from the First World War onwards, the courts in the UK have been extremely deferential on matters of intelligence and national security. Famously, of course, during the Second World War, when they refused to intervene in a number of controversial internment cases, but really in peacetime as well, you see the same thing going on. For two reasons, fundamentally. Partly a constitutional reasons. They don't think it's their business, they think it's the government's business, and it would be improper for the courts to be involved. But also, secondly, an evidential problem. Realistically, how do you bring a case on a matter of secrecy in a court setting? So the courts have tended, traditionally, until very recently, this has changed since 2005, but until very recently, to be absolutely deferential and to be not to touch national security questions.
So one of the ways in which our homes do this is they help to produce and perform security. And this can oftentimes be done through the ways in which the home is linked to the transcendental. So the interplay between the home and religion can be important to the ways in which people develop profound attachments to the places in which they reside or in which they imagine themselves to reside. So this then raised a question for me. What kind of spatial dynamics become possible when drone strikes target houses? When I sought to establish the extent to which houses have featured in strikes, I then turned to first-person accounts of those who have lost their homes in order to show their own understandings of the consequences of the geopolitics that gets produced. So my focus on the targeting and destructions of houses is to demonstrate the emotional and political costs extend beyond the most obvious forms of loss and physical injury. Desecrating homes not only contributes to lasting socio-psychological harm, but has also been suggested as a catalyst for the creation of more constricted everyday spatial orders. So what did I do? Well, data for this analysis was compiled from a qualitative data set on drone strikes that's been compiled by the Bureau for Investigative Journalism. And they've looked at Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen, and their archive dates back to 2002. Now, there are lots of caveats around the data and the method of content analysis that was used. It involved 3 coders, myself, and 2 of my PhD students, who I did pay for their time. They can say lots of nasty things about me, but unpaid labor is not one of them. But the big ones to flag are that this is a data set of what are alleged to be CIA strikes, and that these were primarily personality strikes. So they were aiming or targeting a particular individual as opposed to signature strikes, where it's people who they believe have an insurgent pattern of life, to use their own jargon. So according to the coding of strike incidents contained within the databases, and we covered from 2002 to midway through 2013, over 50% of the total number of strikes undertaken hit or damaged a home across these 3 counterinsurgency theaters. There was, however, significant variation amongst them. In Somalia, which had a very low number of cases, there have been no reported incidents of houses being targeted. In Yemen, it was a little over 10% of strikes involved hitting a house or houses. Yet in Pakistan, the proportion of strikes that destroyed or damaged homes during the time period was closer to 65%. So to put the extent to which domestic spaces became sites of drone strikes into perspective, the analysis of the data indicated to us that less than 5% of attacks across all 3 theaters were directed at military targets, such as training compounds, weapon depots, bases, or other spaces identified as sites of overt insurgent activity.
Which goes to the question of private military, private security. I will present just one. This is the famous tip of the spear argument or typology of Peter Singer, who wrote one of the first books that have opened the debate on privatized security roughly a decade ago. And he argued that basically it is an offense-defense question, that you have companies which are more hired to spear, which are really military support. Some, especially in the 1990s, have even offered offensive combat services. These companies arguably no longer exist today. But if you move down on the spear, then we have the military consulting firms and supplementary services, anything from water purification, cleaning toilets in the post-conflict zones, delivering mail, cooking, etc. These may sound like mundane services, but without cooking, cleaning, militaries would not function in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, and at least in the last century or so, the British Army or most national armies would actually provide these services themselves. So support is crucial. Again, the militaries would not be able to function without these support services. This is just a breakdown of how much of the base support, the more mundane and the more, let's say, tip of the spear activities have been used in Iraq. I will be happy to share the data and point you to more literature, but really it's important to highlight that 90% of the services offered by private military and security companies are quote-unquote less controversial. They are the logistic, transportation, etc. Again, only very few, if any, companies who offer something offensive these days. Nonetheless, it's important to point out that the line between offense and defense, especially in conflict and post-conflict places, is blurred. So whether one is a private security or one is a private military is difficult to say, especially if they are armed. And in conflict zones and post-conflict zones, a substantial proportion of the employees of private military companies are actually armed employees. Whether they use their guns in defense or offense, that's a really tricky question to answer without resort to lots of in-place analysis.